let's go ahead and talk about our contenders for this playoffs. I have just two, or actually I have three in the East and a couple honorable mentions, and then I got quite a few in the West, pretty much the entire West. But I'll go ahead and let one of you guys start for this one. Give me your first contender.
For the East, I'm going with the Celtics. Like I mentioned before, they've been the strongest team all year. They're second in the league in scoring, averaging 120.4 points per game. I like the Celtics this year.
Yeah, I don't even have a second team, honestly. It's
Not even Bucks?
It's Boston's to lose. I don't trust Milwaukee's coaching.
Yep.
So I think that's shown true that I shouldn't. So I think it's Boston's to lose, at least in the East.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got down here the Celtics. They have 60 wins for the first time since 08-09. They kind of feel like the UConn of the NBA, honestly, where they've just kind of been at the top, and there's no visible weakness. Like, the only weakness I could point to is that their bench is not that good. But when you have such a good starting lineup, do you really need that good of a bench? But I think that will maybe cause for some series that go longer than needed. But we'll have to wait and see. Jason Tatum has led the way of 27 points per game. It's just been almost a perfect season for them, I would say. Mm-hmm. I guess the only way it could be more perfect is if they went 74-8. That would beat the Warriors.
I think so.
Yeah, 74-8. Yeah, if they went 74-8. But as Ja Morant said, I think they're fine in the East. I did write down the Milwaukee Bucks as a contender. Honestly, the only way they're contenders is if everything goes right and Doc Rivers steps down as coach. So not really a contender, but a couple honorable mentions. I think New York would have been a contender if they didn't have the injuries befall them. I think Orlando is a team that within the next year or two will be a contender. And if they make a Trae Young Hawks run, it wouldn't shock me. But also Philadelphia, depending upon health, depending upon what Joel Embiid we get, they could also make a run as well.
We're talking West?
Yeah, if you want to move on, on to the West, unless you got anybody else in the East you want to talk about. My Pacers are still on the board if you want to mention.
Yeah, Thunder. I was going to mention, the Thunder, they're in the West, but they got my eye. They've been a great offense all year, top 5 in offense and defense, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is having a great MVP season. Mm-hmm. So they're a young team, but I think they shocked a lot of people, and I can see them making a deep run.
I have Denver, obviously, and then Oklahoma City. I do actually have a second one because I feel like they can be competitive and even compete with Denver in these playoffs. Mm-hmm. But just because of the experience, I would take Denver over Oklahoma City. I know Minnesota's basically right there where they all are, but I feel like Minnesota's weakness is Rudy Gobert when they don't have anybody to contribute. They're basically playing 4-on-5 on offense, so they don't have to guard him, so they can double whether they need to double Edwards or Cat.
Yeah,
whatever they need to do.
Again.
Yeah, and Cat's coming off an injury anyways, so
right.
I don't think they're gonna have the success that Denver or OKC will this Western Conference playoffs.
Yeah, the vibes definitely aren't there in Minnesota, and I feel like that team is just so resembling. I talked about you before the podcast that they feel like at the Jazz, where you have Rudy Gobert, you have a great guard in Anthony Edwards, explosive guard even, just like Donovan Mitchell. You have Mike Conley still on the team, doing Mike Conley things. And really the only difference you got there is Cat. Naz Reid, I guess, would be kind of different from what you would see at the Jazz. So it's not a 1-to-1, but it is just kind of gives me those vibes of the Jazz. Great regular season team. We get to the playoffs, and but we'll see. We'll have to wait and see how that all goes. But I have the Clippers in Dallas. I think Dallas is the strongest threat against the Nuggets, I'm going to be honest.